Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Adrian, and this is Rabona TV's weekend recap. A lot to talk about, a lot to look forward to this week as the Champions League watch-alongs will continue, and of course, one such watch-along will feature Chelsea. And I just did a video on them, but I'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about Chelsea and their match from this weekend. So, let's go. In Spain, it is very, very tight at the bottom still, man. For example, with Valencia losing 1-0 to Levante, they are now just 7 points above the drop zone. Getafe only got a draw this weekend, a big draw against Atletico Madrid, of course, while being a man down for the last 20 minutes as well, so nothing wrong there, but they're just 5 points above the drop. You know, speaking of, this Atletico team is making it interesting for us, aren't they? At one point, they had a chance to have a 13-point lead, and now they have a 6-point lead over Real Madrid, and potentially just 4 over Barcelona. They're still okay, of course, but much less comfortable than they could have had. Speaking of Real Madrid, yet another match in which they score late to get the result they want. Yet another match in which it is Karim Benzema scoring that late goal to get them the result. They went up against Elche on Saturday and at the Estadio Alfredo Di Stefano, and despite looking like they would cruise past the bottom feeders, they actually required a comeback when they went 1-0 down after an hour of play with Dani Calvo and Morente combining to beat Courtois. As soon as that happened, Zidane made 3 substitutions, and my god were they ever important, bringing on Rodrigo, Cruz, and Modric. Modric set up Benzema about 10 minutes after coming on to tie the match up, and in the 91st minute, at the death, Rodrigo set up Benzema for the winner. A close call, and they do it again late, but man, I'm sure the Real Madrid supporters could do without the anxiety of those late performances. But hey, Sergio Ramos is back now, Eden Hazard is back, things could move in the right direction. Well, more emphatically in the right direction. It's not as if they were bombing every single match lately. No Barcelona to speak of this weekend, by the way, as they play today. But we did have Granada beating Real Sociedad and Villarreal snapping their terrible form with a win over Eibar on Sunday, leaving us with, of course, the Seville derby, El Gran Derby. Sevilla finally snapped their poor run of form as they got a win thanks to Youssef En-Nesyri. He certainly found his finish again after he had failed to score in 7 matches. He broke that duck with a brace against Borussia Dortmund, and getting the winner in the derby is always a good confidence booster as well. Sevilla's first win in 5 matches across all competitions, and that actually reinstates a 6-point lead over Real Sociedad in the top 4 race, while Atletico Madrid, as mentioned, have that 6-point lead over Real Madrid. Villarreal could make a late push for top 6. I mean, I say late, but there's still plenty of time. Okay, Italia, you love seeing 6 of the top 8 teams all win matches to ensure things will stay nice and competitive for at least another week. So we had Inter taking on the rapidly sinking ship that is Torino, thanks to goals from Lukaku and Lautaro. Shadow Sanchez for coming on in the 81st minute and setting up Lautaro 4 minutes later. That's 8 wins on the trot for Conte's Inter now, unbeaten in 11 matches. And their most difficult matches in their final 11 would probably be Napoli, Roma, Juve. Hellas Verona can be a banana skin at times, but things are shaping up well for them. Fiorentina got their first win in 4 matches now, and how? They beat up on Benevento 4-1 away from home as one of the hype boys from the weekend recap, Dusan Vlahovic, owned this match in the first half as he scored a hat-trick. The guy can't be stopped. 3-0 after one half. Ionita pulled one back, but Acerec reinstated the 3-goal lead with his 75th minute strike. 4-1 Fiorentina, job done. Lazio overcame Crotone on Friday, as one would expect. And Lazio, of course, were playing an earlier match, given they have to take on Bayern Munich away in the Champions League this week. Crotone actually managed to go blow for blow with Lazio for most of this match, man. Milinkovic-Savic had his goal equalized by Simi, while Luis Alberto put Lazio ahead just before the half, only for Simi to convert a penalty just minutes after halftime. But in the 84th minute, Felipe Caicedo got the winner, his 7th, and snapped Lazio's 2-match losing skid. A 2-match losing skid. Nothing crazy. Atalanta played at home against Spezia on Friday as well, and if it wasn't for a lapse late in the second half, would have come out with the perfect, comfortable scoreline. For me, 3-0 is the definition of just a solid, comfortable win, you know? Yeah, obviously 4-0, 5-0 are more comfortable, but 3-0, oh, just a great feel to it. But yeah, anyway, Spezia pulled one back. 3-1 the final there as Atalanta bounced back from their 1-0 loss to Inter from last Monday, and they play Real Madrid this week. Roma were stunned by Parma this weekend, which is pretty inexcusable. This is a Parma side that hadn't won a match in 2021 yet. Their last victory was on November 30th, 2020, so it's been a minute, hasn't it? Of course, Roma were dominant in the balance of play, but they really struggled to generate scoring chances. In fact, I believe Parma had about a third of the amount of attempts that Roma had. And I mean, Sepe was a busy boy in goal for Parma, but it was just one of those days for Roma. 2-0 Parma, definitely didn't expect that. Juve took on Cagliari, and in the first half, Cristiano Ronaldo scored 3 goals and, in my opinion, should have had a red card also for his attempt at the ball that saw his studs collide with the face of the Cagliari keeper, Alessio Cragno. Of course, Ronaldo didn't intend to do that, but intent has nothing to do with it. Your boots are high in the face of an opponent and you endanger them. For me, that's a red card. Just a yellow was given on this occasion. Looks similar to the Mane on Ederson incident from a few years ago, in which he got a red. Anyway, 3 goals for Ronaldo. Could have had 4 at the end of the match, but he couldn't be the keeper when he was in alone. 3-1 Juve as they move up the standings and, of course, have their game in hand. And Gennaro Gattuso hurt his former club's chances in the Serie A title race as he got a 1-0 win against AC Milan. I mean, Milan is really hurting from all of the injuries they have, of course, which they previously had found ways to overcome their opponents in spite of that fact. But this Napoli side has been in great form lately, sure. They hadn't played the best opponents lately, that's for sure, but they were extremely disciplined in this one. Matteo Politano, it had to be him, a former Inter player as well, with the goal that ultimately sunk AC Milan. Though again, the injuries don't help them, of course. They picked up another one actually for Rafael Leão in this game, and Ante Rebic coming on the pitch to get himself sent off and go out for their next match was just straight up boneheadedness, a class in boneheadedness, and left Inter with a 9-point lead after 27 matches played. Now, of course, that could get down to 7 if Juve are to continue winning matches with just the Serie A to focus on now, but I mean, it's looking pretty good for Antonio Conte. Eintracht Frankfurt went and messed it all up. They messed up the whole title race this week, man. But they held RB Leipzig this weekend to a 1-1 draw. Honestly, Leipzig just have themselves to blame for this drama, as their finishing was poor. Poulsen and Kluivert had great opportunities. I mean, the team was set up perfectly to win this match. Frankfurt offered next to nothing here, besides that defensive solidity at times. But even then, Leipzig were carving out decent enough chances, at least to win this game. I haven't mentioned them in a while, but Union Berlin got a victory royale this weekend. FC Köln, a team on the fringes of the relegation zone, unfortunately. Max Kruse converted a penalty to draw Union level, his 8th goal of the season, plenty of which have come from the penalty spot. Later on, Christopher Trimmel scored his first goal of the Bundesliga season, and it would have been an important one. That win keeps Union with a legit chance at making a European place this season. All of this despite their January and early February bobble. Gladbach continued their terrible slump, man. Sad to see this happen with this team. They lost 3-1 on Friday against FC Augsburg as their finishing was just appalling. Taking pot shots from everywhere, it felt like. And even when they had good opportunities, they just couldn't bury them. At this point, do you just say ciao to Marco Rosa and bring someone else in to turn things around? Or is the season just a complete wash and you just see it through with Marco Rosa? I mean, they have teams like Freiburg, Stuttgart, and Union all ahead of them now, which is very surprising. Technically in the bottom half of the table. Speaking of those teams, such as Stuttgart continued their fantastic run with a win over Hoffenheim, stretching their unbeaten run to 5 matches now. Honestly, Stuttgart's keeper, Kobel, has been great lately and has been a contributor to their success, but just in general, despite the turmoil behind the scenes at Stuttgart previously, this has been a massively successful return to the top flight. Bayer Leverkusen suffered a shock loss to Arminia Bielefeld. Maybe not a shock loss after all, given how inconsistent they have been so far this season, but still, to help Bielefeld to their first victory since January 20th, not a good look. I mean, there were a couple decent saves from Bielefeld's Ortega, but still, this is unbecoming of a side with Champions League ambitions that are slipping away, it must be said. Borussia Dortmund took on one of the most unstable, underperforming sides in the league, which you could actually use to describe Borussia Dortmund's season thus far also, I guess, but I digress. They took on Hertha Berlin and got a 2-0 win. Marco Reus set up Brandt shortly after halftime, his first goal since about mid-January when he scored against his former club, Bayer Leverkusen. Unfortunately, a couple of players took some knocks for Dortmund in Reus and Hummels, but not exactly small-time players for them. But something to be thankful for, Reus's replacement, Youssoufa Moukoko, he scored in second half stoppage time to make it 2-0. That's his third Bundesliga goal this season. Wolfsburg smacked up Schalke, no shock there, right? Schalke are just on the single win for the season, while Wolfsburg have been one of the best sides in the league of late. 5-0 win for Wolfsburg, an own goal from Mustafi got things kicked off in this game. Wout Weghorst took over in the second half, scoring once and assisting twice on their way to a lopsided victory. And finally, it was business as usual from Bayern Munich as they dashed to a 3-0 lead over Werder Bremen in the first hour or so of the match. Goretzka getting another goal after last week's heroics against Borussia Dortmund. Gnabry getting his third in his last 3 appearances, and of course Mr. Thomas Müller getting a couple of assists. In fact, assisting on each of Bayern's first 2 goals. And Lewandowski scored a historic goal as he moved level with Klaus Fischer into second place in the all-time Bundesliga scoring charts. Still about 97 goals behind Gerd Müller, but still, that's an incredible achievement. So 3-1 Bayern Munich as Werder got one late via Niklas Füllkrug, and they have extended their lead to 4 points now, with Leipzig dropping points. Wolfsburg are 10 points behind them. Dortmund on the fringes of the top 4. Union Berlin are pushing for top 6. Let's run through England quickly here. The highlight on the weekend was, of course, or at least on paper, was, of course, the North London derby, but for me, it wasn't exactly my favorite match of the weekend. Eric Lamela turned the North London derby into Rabona TV. Not the first time he scored a lovely goal with the Rabona. One of the sauce lords of the game, isn't he? However, Tierney did extremely well to set up Odegaard to level right before the half, and in the second half, a wild challenge from Davinson Sanchez gave Arsenal a penalty, and Lacazette converted. Man has a spotless record. Spurs had a flurry late in the second half despite Lamela getting himself sent off. You know, you can't have too much good, in which they hit the post and then Gabriel headed away the ensuing rebound. But ultimately, I think that Arsenal were deserving winners in this one. Bale especially looked extremely blunt for Spurs in the first half. Heung-min Son going off injured. Nobody really showed up for Tottenham. It was not an easy match for them. Leeds and Chelsea played out a 0-0 draw that would have been quite frustrating to watch for Chelsea supporters, as Ilan Meslier was a giant in goal for Leeds. Tuchel played with the shape of Chelsea a little bit and still got some great performances out of the team for the most part, but they just couldn't get it done in the attack. Oh, and I actually made a video on Chelsea recently and how Tuchel has changed them. One thing that has been a constant has been their defensive solidity under Tuchel, though, and that remained against Leeds. 2 goals conceded in 12 matches under Tuchel. Make sure you check out that video. I do think you'll like it. Burnley put a dent in Everton's top 4 hopes this weekend, at least for now, as Sean Dyche and the boys got a massive 2-1 victory at Goodison thanks to 2 early goals, and they just battened down the hatches and waited it out from there. Sheffield United, of course, sacked Chris Wilder. Sad to see that happen after all that he had done for the club, you know, bringing them back to the Premier League, etc. But, I mean, something clearly wasn't working. And then for Sheffield United to get baptized 5-0 by Leicester just about a day later really was a sight to behold. I mean, Iheanacho with the hat-trick, as he is really finding form lately. Goals in 3 consecutive matches, 5 in that stretch. Manchester United and West Ham played out a fairly boring match that United dominated for the most part. Poor Mason Greenwood couldn't get a goal, though. He came close on a few occasions. He looked dangerous out there, hit the post. And United's goal actually came from a corner kick that Craig Dawson accidentally nodded into his own goal to give United the 1-0 win. And Manchester City got a 3-0 win over Fulham. They labored at times, but a 13-minute flurry saw them win 3-0. And with Aguero starting, he scored from the spot. His first goal since December in the Champions League. Weird season for him, so few appearances, never really seeming fit even when he's on the bench, questions about his future, it's a weird one. But hey, John Stones and Gabriel Jesus with the other goals for City, also weird that John Stones keeps on scoring, and Liverpool don't play until today against Wolves. City are 14 points clear of United, and of course, they do have a game to play, while Liverpool, they have dropped to 8th for the time being prior to their match against Wolves. Liga continues to be a fantastic watch this season. The quality amongst the clubs is a massive improvement, as anyone can drop points against anyone, it feels like. I mean, mind the gap between the top 4 and the rest of the field, though. But hey, that shrunk a little bit this weekend. Why? Well, this weekend was a big one for the competitive nature of the entire league, as every single one of the top 4 sides dropped points. We had Lyon on Friday as they were held against Stade de Reims. I mean, they nearly lost as they required a 92nd minute equalizer from Memphis Depay in order to rescue a point. That was his 14th goal of the season thus far. He's having a great campaign. Olympique Marseille, they got a win in their second match under Jorge Sampaoli as they beat Stade Brestois 3-1 as things are looking a little better there. That's a few decent results from them, and Sampaoli is certainly an interesting manager. Of course, we had his infamous World Cup 2018 run, which made him look not so great, but he had built a decent reputation prior to that. So this is certainly an exciting moment for Marseille. Now they just need to get the ownership and the boardroom sort of sorted out. The fans still want Aero gone. AS Monaco and Lille played out to a 0-0 draw. Two teams absolutely canceling each other out. Maybe Monaco had a chance or two more to win this match, but hey, both still drop points, both just with one apiece. But for their part, PSG hosted FC Nantes, and the visitors put in a counter-attacking performance for the ages, happy to let PSG just try to work the ball around them, then hit them on the counter. I mean, Draxler did get a goal, but in the second half, Mouani and Simon struck for Nantes to give them the 2-1 win. 2-1 Nantes, PSG blow the opportunity to go level at the top with Lille and put 3 points between themselves and Lyon. So it's still very, very tight at the top. It's as you were up there. Also, you absolutely hate to hear what happened to Angel Di Maria, his family, Marquinhos, his family. Horrible stuff. Hopefully all is well there. As of the time of recording this, I don't know much about it, so Editor Adrian will give any updates. Alright guys, thanks once again for joining me, and I can't wait to see you guys out for the watch-alongs this week. Some awesome matchups, no doubt. My name's Adrian, this is Rabona TV, I love you, and take care of yourself. Peace.